Many of us know palm oil as an edible oil largely used in margarine. Some of us also know it as an exotic reddish oil found mainly in African markets. Widespread use as an edible oil is only half the story. Its uses extend to a plethora of products such as inks, cosmetics, moisturizers, resins, and polishing liquids. It is estimated that 50% of all consumer goods have some form of palm oil used in their manufacturing process. The oil palm's journey from a little known African crop to the highest yielding oil crop in the world is one of great interest. The oil palm is believed by many historians to have originated from West Africa. Oil extracted from the mesocarp of the palm fruit had a variety of uses, which included cooking oil, a seasoning for meat and fish, a relief for joint pains, and even wine. While the oil extracted was extremely useful to locals, traditional methods of extracting the oil from the fruit were inefficient, labor-intensive, and time-consuming. The high free fatty acids, or FFA, content in the oil also made it unsuitable for export due to its short shelf life prior to the 19th century. Before the British outlawed the trade of slaves in 1807, palm oil's use in the international trade was as food for slaves being moved from Africa to Europe and its colonies. With the illegal trade of slaves becoming more risky, the slavers sought out alternative commodities to fill the gap. Till this point in history, palm oil had a symbiotic relationship as a complementary good with slaves. Using their knowledge, contacts, and experience in dealing in Africa, the slavers were able to sunder this relationship and develop palm oil trade between Europe and West Africa. Profitability in the trade of palm oil soon eclipsed that of trading slaves. With the Industrial Revolution ongoing in Britain and later Europe, the British found a number of uses in huge markets for palm oil. It was used as a lubricant in machinery and an ingredient in the making of candles and soaps in an increasingly hygiene-conscious society, as well as a useful flux in tin plating for canned foods. In a span of over a century, British imports of palm oil grew from 223 tons in 1800 to more than 80,000 tons in 1895. Just as palm oil solidified its meaning as an important component of progress in the Industrial Revolution, it would soon be a casualty in the revolution it helped to build up. As technology continued to advance, the multi-purpose nature that made palm oil so valued was replaced by more specialized products. The growing use of electricity and the invention of the incandescent light bulb in 1870 lessened the reliance on palm oil as a fuel for lamps. Hydrogenation allowed formerly unusable oils such as cotton oil to be used in the making of cheap soaps. The development of mineral oil in Pennsylvania in 1859 also pushed out palm oil as the lubrication of choice for machinery. Zinc chloride was also found to be cheaper and superior to palm oil as a flux for tin plating in the 1880s. While specialized products continued squeezing out palm oil, the emergence of the steamship in the latter half of the 19th century created further downward pressure, with prices halving from a high of £40 around 1860 to £20 in 1890. Amidst the fading of palm oil, the emergence of oil derived from the kernel of the palm fruit played a key role in keeping the oil palm relevant to world trade. With the development in Germany of new crushing techniques around 1860, the kernel at the heart of the palm nut began to be traded to Europe. Different characteristics allowed palm kernel oil to serve as a valuable ingredient in the production of margarine and cattle feed. By the 1900s, palm kernels accounted for 232,000 tons, with more than 50% of all trade between Britain and West Africa being derived from the oil palm. The development of margarine in 1869 signaled another change in meaning for the oil palm and its products on the world market. Partially hydrogenated kernel oil forms 70 to 80% of margarine, making it a key ingredient. By the 1900s, margarine was firmly established in the working class diet of numerous European countries. Mechanization and technological improvements in processing during the late 19th century allowed for kernel oil and palm oil to be produced with lower FFA content and better keeping quality. Its successful use in margarine set the stage for a shedding of its industrial image and a rebirth as an edible oil in the 20th century and beyond. The 20th century witnessed the meteoric rise of Southeast Asia as the lead exporting region for palm oil. Belgian agricultural engineer Adrian Hellert noted that factors such as larger amounts of rainfall, better quality soil, and favorable sunlight conditions allowed the oil palm to flourish in countries like Indonesia and Malaysia. Oil palms grown in this region grew quicker and yielded more oil than those grown in West and Central Africa, giving them an edge over other oil-producing regions. The rise of the oil palm industry in Southeast Asia was halted by the Second World War. Even after the war ended, post-war control of exports stifled trade until 1960. The plantations in Southeast Asia quickly sprung out the gates, rebuilding the palm oil industry and simultaneously diversifying away from the declining and increasingly competitive rubber trade. Government branches such as the Federal Land Development Authority in Malaysia gave out grants to smallholders who replanted their rubber trees with oil palms. Numerous schemes were enacted in Malaysia and Indonesia to support smallholders and spur industry growth. At the same time, governments in the region also launched several systematic breeding efforts which were successful in creating new oil palms which not only yielded more fruit but also fruit compatible with new screw presses recently developed by the Belgians. The new screw presses further increased the oil yield per fruit bunch of Southeast Asian oil palms. The region also started using short-term immigrants from Bangladesh, the Philippines, and other countries as labor shortages started to derail the rapidly expanding industry. At the end of the 20th century, the production cost of soybean oil was thought to be as much as 4 times more than palm oil in Southeast Asia, while canola oil from Europe cost as much as 3 times more to produce. Enter the 21st century, Southeast Asian countries now produce more than 87% of global output. Palm oil is the world's most consumed vegetable oil and constitutes 60% of all trade in oil and fats by volume. With its higher yields through technological innovation, lower labor costs through short-term immigrants, and numerous support schemes for smallholders, the palm oil trade is effectively insulated against competition. It seems that palm oil in Southeast Asia has won the race to the bottom against both its competing regions as well as rival vegetable oils.